Live. We are.
Are we live now? Ladies and gentlemen of Media World, Facebook land, and YouTube land, and later Spotify, welcome. It is Thursday. It has just gone 8:30. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and All, where we have a chat with the guests here with me and also with you watching on screen, because as always, you can offer your opinions. You can type them in. We'll see them. You can ask a question or offer an opinion. Joining me this evening are a few familiar faces, actually all familiar faces. We have Matt Boland, we have Mike Reedy, we have joining us again, he's a host himself for White Walkers Chat and Crack. He's a big Ulster man himself. Nigel Quigley, how are you? Great to see you again.
How you doing, Bert? Hi, guys. Good to be here.
Good. And also returning, we have You've seen him before with us. He has played for Ulster. I'm not going to go into his entire CV. He's played for Ulster. He's played for Ireland. He's been involved in coaching. He is based now in Texas. And also, Justin, you have launched a new, very interesting podcast called The Business End, folks. I'd highly recommend you check it out. Justin, how are you? And I'll also ask you to give us a bit of background or info or subject matter of your new podcast, The Business End. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Peter. Great to be here. Hi, fellas. Thank you. It's basically exploring with an old teammate of mine, Liam Mooney, a successful businessman in his own right. We invite different rugby and sporting personalities on and looking at the intersection between sport and business and what could be learned, what skills professional and international athletes honed while they were playing rugby mainly, but sport in general, and how they've utilised them to build businesses, work up the corporate ladder, etc., etc. So it's been very interesting, and I've learnt a lot.
I'd say leadership and group participation will be two key elements in that.
For sure. I mean, things that, as rugby people, we discuss, all the time, and sort of, when you've been in that environment, whether it's team building, resilience, taking and giving feedback, in a team environment, whatever it is, as a professional player or, and a sports person in general, you're used to those, you're used to those things a lot. They happen every day, every week, and so you really hone your skills. There's a real cauldron there. So we've been speaking to. We've had some great guests on. We launched today with Tony Underwood, British Lion, English winger, and got several other former British and Irish Lions coming on the show and have been on the show that will be launched over the next few weeks. And it's just, very, very, I find informative, how these people have taken, those day-to-day skills that you learn as a pro that you have to put into place, and how they've used them and utilized them in a business format and personally as well, to transition out of sport, which can be, very tough, and and happens to every sports person, and make their life and their business a success.
Good. Well, good for you, and we wish you all the success with it. And if there's anything we can do to help you with that, just you shout. You have everything, contact details for me and all that.
Appreciate that, Peter.
Not at all. Okay. Gentlemen, we had the let's kick off. We had the Lions team announced there early this morning. Nigel Quigley, as myself and actually, funny enough, myself, Justin, you asked me this question over a message: are they going to tweak or make wholesale changes? And I said back to you, I'd say tweak. Nigel, the team that has been picked for the final test, it looks like Andy is going to go. He wants the 3-0 whitewash, Nigel.
Absolutely. They've won every game bar the warm-up game back home, sadly, but he's going to want a series whitewash from start to finish, I think. And this is going to be a tough game, I think, because the Australians are going to come out with a lot of fire in their bellies, and there's going to be a lot of penalties early on, I suspect. No shocks for me. I thought probably the only two changes might be McCarthy and I thought Tiapolotti might, but I thought it would be Kinghorn and McCarthy. Surprised to see McCarthy's not in the 23, but anybody that misses out is a good player, aren't they? So he's gone again with Aki and Jones in the middle. It's a 12-13 mix. It would have been Aki and Jones, or it would have been Tiapolotti and Jones anyway. Ryan Byrne, I would have said before last weekend, shouldn't be near that 15, but he came on last weekend and he made a hell of a difference, didn't he? He really did make a difference on the park last week. So he's played himself into that spot, I think. But I don't think there's any real surprises for me. Yeah. He's gone with a pretty settled side from last week, changed a few faces that have come off the bench and proved themselves last week.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Good point, Nigel. Matt Boland, as I said to Nigel, it's looking it looks, you can read it, it's there for yourself for all to see, that Andy wants the 3-0 Test Series win, looking at that team.
Yeah, of course he does. I mean, what Lions coach doesn't want a 3-0 whitewash? Do you know what I mean? And it's never happened in the modern era of the game in the Lions. So this is a massive thing, and we all knew he was going to want to go all guns ablazing and pick the strongest team he had. I'm a little surprised that poor Josh has. Hold on.
Come on, just talk about your team. We're coming on to that.
Grand. So look, we know. I personally think Porter starts better than Genge, and Genge is much better off impact off the bench. So he's got
totally agree.
Right. And as Nigel has said, I think James Ryan did play himself onto that team. He came on as impact last week as well and played fantastic, carried really well. So fair dues to him. The back three, what can you say? Byrne, Conan, and Curry, you just can't go wrong. But yeah, other than that, there's no real changes in the back. I thought if Hansen was fit, I thought he might have snuck in there instead of Freeman, and that was probably my only change I would have made in that back line.
Yeah, considering Freeman was carded, Simbin there, the second test, might have had a black mark on his copybook with Andy Farrell, but apparently not. Apparently not, yeah. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on that team selection? Any, don't mention Josh, please. Any other surprises, please? Thank you.
No, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting. I mean, I've seen people saying there was going to be a raft of changes and stuff like that. I never thought so, because like the lads have just said, Andy Farrell wants his 3-0. Well, he wants to give it the best shot anyway. It's not guaranteed ever in a game, obviously. James Ryan was an enigma for me until a couple of weeks ago. I have seen a completely different side to James Ryan over the last couple of games. His physicality that he's bringing to the game is absolutely astounding. I never thought that he had it in his locker, to tell you the truth. I mean, I think because of the way what do
you mean you never thought he had it in his locker?
I never thought.
How do you watch him rugby?
He's not. He doesn't. He's flying into stuff. He's flying into stuff a lot more so.
Get away with that.
And well, okay, you watch him. But
I have watched him, and I do watch him. He does have the physicality. What the hell are you talking about? Jesus.
Well, he has, but he hasn't got. He seems to have an extra spurt in himself.
I'm going to be with Mike on this. He came out of it when he was a young man. He came out a bit like McCarthy. Then he kind of lost it for a couple of seasons, didn't he?
He lost it. Hold on.
But he's got it back.
He lost it back. He lost it. Hold on, Mike. He lost it in 2018, and Nigel. He lost it in 2018 for about 2 years when he was given the captaincy. Didn't suit him. He went off form, and now he's back. So, Mike, for the past 4 years, 5 years, he has physicality on the pitch. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I didn't say he hadn't got physicality. He seems to
have... Do you want me to rewind it? Rewind the tape.
I'll tell you no, because there's been a couple of incidents in one of the group games where he was very lucky not to get cards, because he has been flying into tackles, which is not quite like James Ryan. He's a lot more measured, I've always thought, than he is shown. But maybe he's seen what Joe McCarthy has been doing. He thought, "Fuck that! I'm going to need to get my head down here, or I ain't going to get my place back." So he's got it back. Good luck to him, lads. To be fair, and I agree with Matt. I thought Mac Hansen, because let's be honest, Tommy Freeman's had two below average tests, as James Lowe had. So I thought it might have cost Tommy his place as well. But Mac mightn't be fully fit, so.
Probably not, actually, Mike. Probably not. You're right, actually. Yeah, probably not. Justin, your thoughts on that selection? As I've said, I'm repeating myself now at this stage. Andy Farrell wants that 3-0 Test series win.
Yeah, I mean, and we've heard rumblings of that over the course of the tour. I think Henry Pollock was asked in an interview about it, and they said, they want the whitewash, and so they'd obviously within their own goal setting established they wanted to do that, and it's a monumental challenge. I mean, as Matt mentioned, it hasn't been done in a long time. I think I was having a little look before we came on. It's
1927 against Argentina. 1927 in Argentina.
1904 in Australia.
There we go. It's a long time ago. So they're chasing immortality. Really about it. If they can pull it off, and it's based on the first 30 minutes last week. I mean, it's not or even the whole 80 minutes. I mean, it was only decided in the last 9 seconds. I mean, it's a big challenge. But I'm really excited about the squad he's picked. I think it's smart, the 6-2 split on the bench. There's obviously a little bit of jeopardy with that, if you get the wrong injury in the backs. But I think bringing Ben Earl in off the bench, I've been personally impressed with him. I think Conan deserves the start and has been excellent, but Ben Earl is an explosive runner, and I think the combination of him and Jake Morgan coming off the bench, amongst others, is really going to add a lot of vim and vigor in that final quarter. So overall, I think it's a good squad, and I think they've got the tools to do the job.
There's something in the back of my head saying he's put Ben Earl in there because can Ben Earl not play out in the centres as well? Has he not played in the centre?
He's a bit of a hybrid player, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I mean, he's an athlete, but I don't know the answer to that, and that probably makes sense. Now, there's a big difference between playing club or playing underage and whatever, and coming on the big stage. And as I say, there's a bit of jeopardy involved in going with a 6-1, 6-2 split or a 7-1 split, as other teams do. But it's big boy stakes, isn't it? You want to roll that dice and go for it. And Andy Farrell's a smart dude, so I'm excited about it. I'm really pumped, and they've got to weather the storm, as they did largely in the first half, and I think we're in a good place.
Well, it wasn't largely just that they were down 25-3 or whatever it was after 30 minutes. So that's a hell of a bloody storm.
Well, yeah, and in fact, and you got out on the scoreboard. I thought you're 100% right. I mean, that's a big mountain to climb in any Test match, in any first class game. But I never felt watching it that really reflected, and looking at the stats and stuff, how many meters carried and so on and so forth, it felt like we were very much in it. We just made some errors, some miscalculations along, and in fairness to the Australians, they capitalised on it. But still mountain to climb. But I didn't feel it was slipping away from us. Like sometimes when you're watching a game.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Thanks, Justin. Points well made. Nigel, Justin mentioned Owen Farrell on the bench with the 6-2 split. Owen Farrell, Nigel, he's there because he covers a few positions. He's becoming a utility back at this stage, really, isn't he?
He is a utility back, yeah. I mean, he's not been like 10 for a while now. You see him at centre quite often. Well, that's the two positions he plays, really, isn't it? 10 and centre, really.
Yeah.
You don't really see him very much for us. I think Farrell's got options, and then there's first choice, second choice, and I think he's got a couple of, with the likes of Earl's hybrid third choices there. He can cover any disasters that come into this. It's just it is a gamble, but I have seen Earl play in the centre. Mike, can you remember where it was? Because you've seen it as well. You mentioned I have seen Earl play in the centre in his professional game. I think it was because of a bench split. It may have been a cup game.
I think he did for Saracens. I think he has
Saracens was, yeah. So he can do a job there if that disaster hits.
Yeah.
But if not, he doesn't need to.
He's definitely got pace. Like,
he can handle himself anywhere on the pitch, can't he? Farrell. I know he's a Marmite character, isn't he, with the fans? Because people think he's only there because of the father. He's only there. He probably offers a hell of a lot of knowledge in there.
I'm not buying any of that, by the way. I'm not buying any of that nonsense.
It's probably very, very useful to that squad, I would think. And even when people were going, no arms, Farrell, blah, blah, he was playing at his best. My attitude always was, if you could have him in your team, you probably would.
Well, okay, well, that begs another question then, Nigel. Were you like a few people, I won't say the majority, but a few people were very surprised that Farrell was actually picked to go?
Well, he wasn't picked to go initially.
No, but sorry, to join the squad.
I think what is always a little bit of a back of your head is he was called up and pretty much into the squad, and he's been in the squad pretty much ever since. Is that the influence he has in the squad? Is that his father's influence? Is that the influence or lack of Marcus Smith and Finn Smith? You know, because Finn Smith hasn't figured that much, and we've seen him playing in international league, and he's a tidy little player, but he's a young player, isn't he? And maybe Farrell just wants the experience in there, the cool heads. But he jettisoned into the squad fairly quickly as soon as he arrived, didn't he?
He did. Now, I will say this to the group on the screen here. We had Fiona Hayes on here about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or 3 weeks ago, could have been. And when I asked her the question, her reply was she was surprised because the Lions players are picked on form, right? And Owen Farrell, up to that date, didn't have great form for the past year and a half. So, and this is where the whole debate online was coming from. Well, why the hell is Farrell being called into it? Go on, Nigel, you're trying to get in.
You could probably argue that with a few players, though. You know, I mean, I was surprised to see Mac Hansen called up straight away because he spent a lot of the season injured. He's been out of form a little, probably because of injury. He showed a few blurts of his, you know, what he can do. And I think he did play well when he played. But the form thing before that dictated to me he probably doesn't go. But he went. So that's trust in the coach and knowing him and knowing what he can do. You know, so I think there's a bit of that involved. And he knows what his son can. He knows what Owen Farrell can do. He didn't take him initially, and I think that was fair enough. But I think once he required a 10 or a centre, it was probably him was going to come in. And let's be honest, it's not been a bad choice. He's played well when he's come on.
Yeah. And if he didn't bring him, Nigel, it would have been a very awkward Christmas dinner.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wife would have been very quiet. I wouldn't have liked that one. Yeah.
No, you wouldn't have liked that. Okay, a few people watching. Gregor Galway, evening all. L. Willoughby, good evening all. Ian Gilbert is watching from Madrid. He says, good to see Nigel on the show. It's good to have Nigel on the show. Thanks, Ian. Okay, Matt, coming back to you, you were going at it and I stopped you. The one player that has caused outrage is the wrong word, confusion as to why he wasn't picked, even benched, is Josh van der Fleer. Now, in fairness, the position that Josh plays in, open side, there is an awful lot of competition for that. Were you a bit surprised, Matt, that Josh wasn't picked in the 23?
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought he would have got a look in, but like we've loads. The depthness in that back row in the Lions at the moment is just unbelievable, and I think any country would be massively envious of that. And it just goes to show the quality that's there because Josh hasn't got a look in, and he is World Player of the Year in 22. Do you know what I mean? And is probably one of the first names on the sheet for Ireland. But I was hoping he might have just got a test cap, but obviously Farrell is looking and he's there. We've got to trust in Farrell. We trust him for Ireland, so we have to trust him for this as well. Yeah,
and he's one of two, Matt, now, and Gary Ringrose been the second, but Gary Ringrose is a different story.
Yeah, a different scenario, but praise. We've said this before. Like, praise has to go to Gary because he was the one that put his hand up and said, "No, I'm not right," and he has set a precedent. So for him, I think he's taken a high ground. So nobody's going to ever deny him of Anton and to say, "Oh, you weren't a test starter." Do you know what I mean? He's done something else that's
But Matt, he was picked last week, was he not? And he
Yeah,
pulled
he
himself.
was.
He was.
There's no disgrace in him at all. No, no.
Absolutely not. You know, and the fact of the circumstances is it's actually going to reflect much better on him, and it's going to reflect better on the wider rugby public and playing association, because we all know the story with the concussions and all that sort of stuff. So fair play to him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No. I think you're right. Yeah, Mike Reedy, would you share Matt's sentiments there about Josh? I thought he wouldn't be. I was convinced he was going to be picked.
Well, I think had either Tom Curry or Ty Byrne had poor, and let's be honest, lads, both of them have had really good first and second tests. To be very, very harsh to drop either one. And Jack Conan has been fine as well. So I think to make a change there, like who do you take out? Like it wouldn't fit well. So it's unfortunate for Josh, because he's a fabulous player. We all know he is, and he wouldn't weaken the team. This is the thing, and neither would Morgan. Like, you know, if Morgan started, he wouldn't weaken the team. So, like Matt said, the choice of players is very, very, like, you know, is high level. And I mean, Ben Earl has been outstanding for Saracens and for England for the last number of years. So he'll probably be happy to have a bench. And young what's his name? Not Proctor.
Pollock.
Young Pollock hasn't had a look in at all. So, you know, he has lots of time, plenty of time ahead of him. So he's been there, and the actual tour experience will do him good. But
Pollock did play. He played one of the tour games, didn't he?
Yeah, he played. Oh, he did. He didn't play. He hasn't played. He hasn't
played test yet.
No.
Yeah. All right, Justin.
The harsh reality is only 23 can be named in the squad for a test. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people to choose from.
No, fair enough, Mike. Yeah, okay, good point. Justin, was there any surprise in your head that Josh wasn't picked, or were you of the thought that actually no, because Tom Curry is playing well? Why would you change that? Why would Andy risk that? Maybe you might have benched him, but then you've got Ben Earl or Jack Morgan there as well to fill that space. Everyone's playing well in that particular position. Was there any kind of surprise in your head, or was it just, that's the way it goes?
I wasn't overtly surprised, and you and I sort of went back and forth a little bit, you know, ahead of the first test, and Josh has played well in the games. I personally thought Jack Morgan was the in-form 7. That was just my gut feeling going into the first test. And when Andy Farrell named Tom Curry, I was a little bit surprised. But you know, in that first half, he proved why he's in there. He brings a different dimension at 7 than Josh and Jack does. He's just a bigger, more physical dude, you know, and he's played very well in the last 2 tests. So I wasn't that surprised, as I think Mike just mentioned there. You know, Ben Earl had been playing very well, you know, and he was left out. I mean, there's a lot of talent within that back row, and you know, God forbid somebody goes down with a stomach bug tomorrow, and Josh got pulled into the 23. You'd have absolutely no hesitation putting him on the pitch. He's a class operator, you know, and it just comes down to small margins, one person's opinion or a group of people's opinion in terms of selecting the team, and also tactically, what are you looking to do as a team, you know, and what are you looking for that position to contribute within that game plan, and what are you expecting the other team to do? And if we look at what happened last weekend, and you know, and taking away injury changes, I think we're going to get some more of the same. They've got some incredibly big forwards in Skelton and others to you know, looking to go route one and to get to the gain line against the Lions, and for that, Tom Curry's a bigger more physical specimen, in my opinion. So I mean, I can see the logic of what they're doing, and that's the way that they've set their stall out. So it made sense. Harsh because Josh is a great player, but you know, I wasn't overtly surprised.
Is he a better player than Tom Curry? Or are they both totally different players?
Well, I mean, there's obviously some similarities, and you know, and again, if you're picking the Ireland side for a test match against the All Blacks next weekend, for example, hypothetically, you know, Josh is one of the first names down. So it's, you know, it's horses for courses, and Andy's got his ideas, and I think he was quoted. I don't know if it was pre the first test or probably post the first test. And he said, well, you know, Tom Curry's a test match animal, right? And some players are like that they just step up to the big arena. And in fairness, he did that, you know, and as other people have mentioned, you know, would have been right to drop him, you know. And again, they're getting the temperature gauge, the coaching staff on how people are feeling, how they've recovered. You know, it's a big ask to play 3 test matches back to back, you know, so he must be in a good position, and you know, and he's certainly backed up in my mind, his selection.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Justin. Nigel. Okay, we'll move on to, and we discuss the final test in a few minutes. But I want to go back and talk, Nigel, about the second test. There was a few controversial moments in that game.
No, it
wasn't. which have been well documented online and in print media. Overall, before we go into each of the points, I've got 4 turning points in that game. But Nigel, your thoughts overall on the game before we go into each of my 4 points. You might have your own, I don't know, but your overall impression, Nigel, looking at that, a fan sitting in the pub or on your chair on the TV watching that game. What did you think of it?
If you're a Lions fan in the first 30 minutes, you're wondering what the hell's going on. If you're an Australian fan, you're thinking we've got this in the bag. I thought Will Skelton was trying to get into as many fights as he could in the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
I was actually surprised he stayed on the park and didn't get a 10-minute break, frankly, but because he was at it big time. But and they're going to have to watch for that, I think, again this week. But there's all this talk about these controversial moments, which I don't think were controversial at all, and not much talk about the fact that Australia let an 18-point lead go.
Yes.
Now, there are reasons for that. I think the Lions bench made a huge difference, changed the game completely. We started to dominate the collisions a lot more. The back row were more about it. The backs, I thought, Kinghorn. We weren't winning an awful lot in the air on kick chases, I noticed in the first half. We seemed to be kicking a lot of ball, but we weren't catching it. It was always going to the string. And even when they kick chase, they were catching a lot of their own ball. That changed a little in the second half, but we just looked at a much more dangerous side once the bench started to come on, I think. And the Australian bench didn't have the same impact. I think Skelton was a huge impact. Tizano as well. And, you know, when they lost those 2, they didn't seem to have as much up front. And I think that'll happen again because, you know, Skelton's not an 80-minute man. I don't think
he's not.
But
do you think, Nigel, do you think, Nigel, with your overall impression that particular test match has saved the impression of this Lions tour? Because up until that particular game, Nigel, it hasn't really been a great, entertaining rugby tour.
It was the best game of the tour by a country mile, without a doubt. It was a competition, and that's the difference, wasn't it? The Australians made a competition of it, and we had to fight hard to scrape the win at the end, although we were crawling back the whole second half. But it was exciting because it went to the last, and that's always going to be the games you remember. You're not going to remember the 30-point drubbings. Yeah, you know, great fun, but forget about it. It's the tight games, the tough games that you have to work to win, and they had to work to win that.
Yeah, true. Okay. Matt Boland, same question to you, what I've asked. Thanks, Nigel, by the way, for that. Good point. Matt, your overall, before I've as I said, I've got four turning points in that game, or controversial or turning, or whatever phrase you want to use. But your overall thoughts on that, the second test.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, as Nigel has said, like the bench was a massive difference. But again, like I think that Australia a lot of them are pinpointing that last minute of that game and putting all the blame on that. But they put themselves into that position by effectively throwing away an 18-point lead. I mean, one more score, and I think a very important part or a pivotal part was that Tom Curry tackle on your man.
Oh, for God's sake, that's one of my turning points. Jesus Christ. Just your overall impression of the game.
But isn't that what your question was? What were the turning points?
No, just your overall impression of the game.
That was one of my turning points, like of the game. So
no, anyway, it's mine. You're not having it. It's mine.
Yeah, grand. I got there before you, so push it.
It's on my notes. It's on my notes.
I'm delighted. I didn't see your notes, so. But that was definitely a turning point, because if that had been scored, it could have been a totally different result.
Yeah, true.
Look, I mean, as Nigel has said, it was the best game so far, and I think we have all kind of said in the group and with each other that it would have been fantastic if Australia had got the win, for it to go to this weekend and have a blockbuster weekend this weekend with it all to play for, or it all to go for, and both teams fighting for that title of winning the tour. But sure, yeah. Look, we're happy as well.
We've lost Justin. Maybe he might pop in again.
He'll pop back in.
Okay.
Look, I mean, now that we're going for a 3-0, that's also very exciting, because again, it's history making. It's something for these guys to get their names into a history book, where they'll always be remembered as the team that went down to Australia and dominated and won a series 3-0. So look, that's massively important.
Okay, Mike Reedy, while we hopefully get Justin back on. Don't know what happened there. I think his Wi-Fi must have given out or something, obviously. Mike Reedy, your overall thoughts on the second test. And indeed, as I said to Nigel, I firmly believe that test saved the series to date from being a kind of whatever. To Jesus, that was a bloody good game.
Well, I mean, people are saying that they would have liked to have seen the Australians win. I tell you one thing, lads, squeaky bum time for me this weekend. If the Australians had won that fucking game, I'll tell you, I would have been concerned going into the third test. So I wasn't giving away a fucking this match to Australia. Sorry, much as Twitter have made the competition maybe a little bit more competitive. But as regards the game itself, I mean, Australia came out of the blocks, by the way, and they hit us with everything. And Valentini and the big fella Skelton was like he was. I agree with Nigel, by the way. He was a lucky man not to be, because he grabbed Itoje by the throat. And he was quite violent in some of his actions. But you need that, lads. Let's be honest. They had to stand up and be counted, because they weren't good enough anywhere near it in any shape of it or any facet of the tour so far until Saturday's game. That was a different story, and I agree with what Matt said. They should be more concerned about losing an 18-point lead than fucking whatever happened towards the end. But the Lions, something? What Andy Farrell showed something on Saturday that he's shown several times for Ireland. His teams are hard to beat now. They do not stop. They never stop. They go till the final whistle every game. And they win games that maybe we wouldn't have won some years ago. But he has something instilled in his teams, by the way, that go right to the end, and they went right to the end. And fair play to him. Like I was over them. When I get excited when we win, I don't like losing. I don't fucking want to give games away to anybody.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right, Mike. Justin, welcome back. Just before I come to you, Justin, Claire Devaney, our colleague Claire Devaney. Oh my God, Peter Burke is so outraged. That's about you, Matt, robbing my points. Mike Sheedy, last weekend, Lions game, great teamwork. Few minutes to go, some game of rugby indeed. Justin, your overall thoughts on that particular game, and then I'm going to go into my 4 turning points and see if you all agree, or you might have your own. Go on.
He's only 3, yeah. You're dead right, Nigel.
Sorry. I've only 3 now. Yeah. Sorry. Go on, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, with the changes that Joe Schmidt had made, beefing up the forwards, I wasn't surprised in how they started and how they were playing, and watching the game while it was a 20-point deficit, after 30 minutes or so, I didn't feel that the game was sort of drifting away from us. I thought there's some changes. I thought, agreed with the other points made there in terms of the impact the bench had made, and I do think there's a difference in the overall squad talent. I think we've got a very, very strong bench, and them not so much. So it's we've got to stay in the arm wrestle, as we did outside of the scoreboard in the first 30 minutes. I was, I thought their tight head prop going off early made a big difference. The scrum worked as well as it has done all tour, and I know they're bringing in Tongan Thor for this weekend, so we may not get the same results. But I thought that was very, very positive overall. That's as dominant as we've looked, and that's hard to play off of. I thought the line out was good, and I thought we stuck to largely the pattern. And once we brought that accuracy in, we got opportunities to score. So it's.
But I tell you what, Justin, right? Going on what you just said there, and you just reminded me now of something, and I did say to you via message, we do tend to go off on tangents, and you're probably well used to it because you've been on here a few times before. We had a guest on, a great woman, a very interesting woman to speak with. Zakaya, I'm not even going to try and pronounce her surname. But there you go. Look at that, Nigel, straight away, straight in there. But I asked her about this, about the tour games and the test matches, and is this tour exciting and blah, and so on and so on. And she said that, but doesn't that reflect the state of rugby in Australia? And she thought that one of the franchises, the Brumbies, would have taken a game, and no. Go on, Justin. Sorry, go on. The thrust of my question that I'm asking about the state of rugby in Australia.
Well, look, I mean, they've been very open about it. They've had their problems over the last few years. I actually think this is going to breathe a breath of fresh air through the whole thing. You've seen the excitement. It's obviously brought a lot of dollars to the organisation, which are much needed. And I can only speak from my personal opinion. I've been, like a kid in a candy store. I've really enjoyed this tour all the way through. Australia is such a great place to tour. And yes, look, are they as strong comparatively as previous tours? But also, you look back on that second test, for want of a decision here or a decision here, we could be looking at a 1-1 going into a test decider this weekend, right? So, they're not that bad, and by any stretch of the imagination. And also, you've got to remember as well that, come the hour, come the man, and none of those Australians were going to go in and roll over in any of these test matches, and especially when they got some of those big talismans like Skelton back in the mix, and that certainly lifted them up. Now, as we've mentioned, he's not amongst others, he's not an 80-minute player. So that bench equation, and I think that's probably why Farrell's gone with a 6-2 bench split, is going to be critical. But no, I mean, it's far from a rollover come this weekend. And in terms
are we forgetting the autumn tour?
The what? Sorry.
I mean, are we forgetting the Australian tour in the autumn last year? I mean, they were pretty damn good then too.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not.
But then, hold on, then, Nigel. Then what's happened since then?
Oh, you mean the Rugby Championship?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And go on, Nigel. Yeah.
I've there's a lot of talk. I'm in a lot of international forums too, and
I know. We all know, Nigel.
And I do like to have my fun with certain people I know, but there's just this general assumption that they're going to be the bottom dwellers in the TRC this year again. I'm not so sure. I think they've got a game or two in them. You know,
I actually think this Lions tour is going to stand them in really good stead going into the a lot better. They'll be a lot better than they would have been had they not had this tour. And they'll upset some teams, by the way. Hopefully,
I agree.
I think so. Yeah.
Did you finish your point there, Nigel? Sorry.
No, just I don't think that, you know, we're talking about there's maybe an expectation that the Lions will roll them over. I don't think a lot of fans had that, but you know, I watched them last autumn, and you know, they gave everybody they played a tough game. They beat England, didn't they? You know, they were not easy to beat back then. There's a good squad, a good spine of a team in there, and I mean a quality spine of a team in there. And Joe Schmidt will get the best out of them. And I think we saw that last weekend because we said the benches were not really comparable, and that's probably what was a big difference. Not all the difference, but a big difference in the end. But and as Mike said, I totally agree. They're going to go into this TRC a much better side than they were last season. Much better side.
Well, let me ask you then, Nigel. And I was on a show with Matt, with Zakaya, and I asked this question: is Joe Schmidt the right man for the job for Australia? A class coach, class operator, highly intelligent man, but Joe likes to work with players. That team doesn't seem to have gelled 100% for me, Nigel. What would you say to that?
Well, I think he's the best man to get the absolute best of the basics out of a team. You know, I don't think he's a micromanager into what he wants in a plan. But a Joe Schmidt plan's not horrendously complicated. It never was with Ireland. I mean, when Ireland had the dominating pack, that was the Joe Schmidt playbook. We took it up the jumper, carried it into contact. We had a few fancy plays, but we generally kicked and chased after a few contacts, didn't we? And we were the best at it. Nobody could handle it, so we won games. It's when people started countering that and they could handle it, we started to lose games, and we didn't have a plan B. So I think for a team that's in a kind of a rebuild and they're trying to get a bit of confidence back, I actually think he is the right coach for now. Doesn't mean he'll be the right coach in 2 seasons. I don't know. I mean, but I think he'd get the best out of that squad that he can.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good point. No, sure. Isn't Joe leaving the beginning of next season? Isn't he? Les Kiss is coming in, or something.
Les Kiss is coming in. That's right. He is. Yeah.
2026.
2026. Yeah. Justin, same question to you. Just out of pure interest that I've asked Nigel: Is Joe Schmidt the right man for the job? Actually, as Nigel said, he probably is for the time being.
Well, I mean, I agree, but just think. I said this a moment ago. If for the want of a decision one way or the other, we're sitting here 1-1, and then obviously the result is, you know, look at Joe. We're going into the final test to win it one way or the other. I mean, he's a class coach, and you know, and Nigel mentioned there, you know, the work that he done behind a good pack. Well, you know, that was a good pack that we saw in at least the first 40, 50 minutes. And just like we've seen Andy Farrell takes Tag Furlong and play him back to fitness, well, now going into the championship, you've got Skelton and some of these other big boys that have got great minutes against world-class players ready to go, you know, to go into the championship. So that's going to make a big difference. And I would agree with Mike. They're going to roll someone. And we've also got to take into cognizance just the standard of that competition. You know, you got the Box in there, you got the All Blacks, you got the Argentinians that rolled us in Dublin. It's not for the faint-hearted. So, but I think they'll surprise a few people.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Nigel. Okay, my much anticipated 4 turning points. Thanks, Matt. And we're going to repeat.
Wait for this. Here we go.
But it's not that there's no drum roll or anything. You've all seen the bloody game. Right. Okay. For now, my 4. Right. The one. Let me just see here. Sheehan's try. Right, and the controversy that caused at the TMO review, that he was diving over a tackle when he wasn't. He was diving to score, which is perfectly legal. Right. That was a psychological turning point in my view. Okay. Curry's tackle on Suede, when that looked like a certain try, and that would have brought, I think, at the time, the score to 33-17, was it? I probably got that wrong. And then we have Morgan's tackle, which again caused more bloody controversy. And then the last one was, and probably the most important one was, when Valentini and Skelton went off, and the Lions then, they brought on Genge, Ryan, Morgan, Kinghorn. Genge and Ryan played out of their bloody skins. So the bench, yes, as has been mentioned here already, the bench, unloading the bench, was worked to great effect with Genge and Ryan playing out of their bloody skin on that. Matt, would you agree? I know you agree on one of them certainly, but the other three I've mentioned, what do you think?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you've definitely put the nail on the head there. You know, Dan Sheehan's try definitely was a psychological turning point for the Lions in terms of it got them on the scoreboard, and it puts that little bit of doubt in the Australians' head then as well. So as I mentioned, the Curry tackle on Suali, that was definitely a turning point, because I don't know whether it would have been 31 or whatever the score was, but it was at that point where it would have just slowed the momentum of the Lions coming back, and it might have actually put the seed of doubt in the Lions' heads going for the rest of the game. So it might have been a little. The Jack Morgan thing was absolutely, definitely a turning point, because as the lads have alluded to, we could be talking here now, and the game could be 1-1, and going into a final weekend, both playing for the championship, you know, and of course, a massive turning point was Valentini and Will Skelton going off, because the quality of the Australian bench obviously is not as good as the quality of the Lions bench, because you've got four nations. You've got Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales, and all the best players from them four representative countries as well. So clearly your bench is going to be a hell of a lot stronger. You could pick another 23 and it'd be still a quality fucking team going in to play Australia. So look, you've nailed it on the head there with them 4 turning points.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Good points. Mike Reedy, would you agree with my 4 turning points, or would you add any of your own, or what do you think?
Oh, I agree. They all in their own way had a massive impact on the game. I mean, the Dan Sheehan try was obviously a try. There was nothing to discuss there really. But it was a solid blow to Australia. I mean, I think it put us back to 5-6. They had already scored 2 penalties, so we were 5-6. We missed the conversion. Then they went on and scored another couple of tries, and then Valentini and Skelton going off massive, because the difference with the players coming on as against the two of them, because they had the impact that Australia needed, like after the first test, the impact that they caused was massive. I mean that Valentini had something like 8 carries for 30 meters or something like that in the first half.
29 to 30 meters, yeah. That's right.
He's a great player, Valentini. He's a great
player. And for them then to not be able to continue in the second half was a hard one and like Matt just said, the quality of the bench coming on for the Lions. I mean, you're talking about the top player of another nation basically replacing the top player of a different nation, you know, and they had to bring on like their next on the rank, you know, which isn't the same quality, and you know they think they're probably going to it'll stand them in good stead the minutes they got under their belt, like on Saturday. Mind you, Valentini isn't playing now. He's
injured. He's injured. Yeah, he's injured.
That's a massive loss for them, by the way.
It is. Okay, I tell you, Mike. I'm just conscious of time as always. We're just conscious. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Mike. I'm just
fine.
Conscious that we've a few other bits. Nigel, what do you think of those 4 points? Now, I have another one, but it wasn't a turning point.
They're all valid, and they all made a difference. Of course, they did, because there were scores prevented and scores made. And I think missed conversions were another factor. I think they were another factor that could have put the game a little closer, or you know. So there was that. There were some defensive lapses in the Lions. I felt, particularly in the first half, there was a couple of occasions where some of the players seemed to pick up the ball and run past 3 or 4 Lions players. He's definitely going to look at that. And I say the high ball. Those are the problem areas I think that the Lions had, particularly in the first half. You know, there was the defensive gaps. There was the high kicks and chases, and the defensive catches. We were missing, particularly on the wings. Not so much Keenan. Keenan was very good, but on the wings, they weren't catching the ball, and I was just giving them momentum.
And Nigel Doohan wasn't even playing.
Well, yeah. Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've come to the conclusion
Rightly
back three players ain't great going back anyway. With possibly the
Yeah.
exception of Keenan, there aren't very many good ones. They always tend to be a little bit defensively lacking at times, I think, but it's what they offer going forward. He offers very little going back. That's the problem. I mean, a Colby, a small winger, is just going to dance around and be gone. He's a big chunk of a lad. So I'm not surprised he hasn't really figured, if I'm honest. But so I think there's a couple of things the lads need to do well. Yeah, they've only got Skelton of the big two this week, and I think the Lions will work on him this week. He's not going to get the freedom he got last week. They'll nail him a lot faster, I think. And is Tizzano playing this week, or is he? I think is he?
Who? Who's that?
Is it Tizzano? What do you call him?
Yeah, Tizzano.
Tizzano. Carlo.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's
well, he's at home at the moment polishing his Oscar.
He's polishing his Oscar. That's right. I was surprised he was picked because I know White's picked, and it's odd to have two of them on the pitch, isn't it?
Well, you see, it's Nick White's last.
It is
Test international game, retiring after this. Anyway, okay, Justin. Just before I ask you about those points I've raised, I have to say hello to a great guy here, David Topping, who Nigel knows very well. David says, David, I hope you're well, by the way. He says, evening everyone, and evening Nigel. Quigley, our night king, in reference to his hosting abilities in the White Walker chat and crack. Okay, thanks, David. Justin, your thoughts on that? Now, I was going to say, Justin, before I was going to add one in, but it wasn't a turning point. It was more of a benefit. Was Freeman's yellow card?
Sorry to cut across you there, Peter. Tizzano was not playing.
Is he not? Okay.
He's not even on the bench.
All right. Okay.
So he was.
Oh, he's not. You're right too. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go on, Justin. Okay.
I was going to pick up on the point you just mentioned a moment ago, and I think, there's 5 changes to the Aussie side this coming weekend, and most of them are injury enforced, but the one that you mentioned there, Nick White coming in, this is his last professional game, period, right? And 72 caps, very experienced player, scrum half in a pivotal position. So if they can get any sort of forward momentum as they did in the first 30 minutes, he's a lot of experience with nothing left to give in the tank, for post this match. So he'd be a key person to watch, and could have some influence on the game. But to your points, those 4, I wouldn't disagree with any of them. To the first one in Dan Sheehan, absolutely, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Again, different referee, a bit like the Jack Morgan thing. We could be, sitting here.
Sorry, Jonathan, can I just cut across you on that though? My view on that is, had he done that 30 meters up the pitch, he'd have got pinged for it. But because he was diving for a try, he doesn't get pinged for it.
That's exactly right.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Go on, Justin.
Yeah, and maybe, and that's a very valid point, Nigel. And you could make the argument about the Jack Morgan clean out, had that been in the first minute and not the 78th, 9th minute, and in a different part of the pitch, would that have been called differently? And that's probably a broader conversation in terms of the complexity of the laws of the game and the pressure that referees are being put on. And we've all seen this week, you're happy if you've got a red jersey on, and you're sad if you've got a yellow jersey on. There's a little bit of interpretation with how this is refereed, and a lot of pressure put on the refs, which I think is unfair. We have no game with no referees. So anyway, let's sort of take a side note there. But I was going to say, in terms of Dan Sheehan, I'm going to put a question back to you guys. How well has that young man played? He's been phenomenal, from the first game minute through, in my opinion anyway. He's got to be up there for man of the
I'll tell you how well he's playing. In 16 games, he scored 16 tries after coming back from injury. That's just the class of player he is. He's probably the best hooker in world rugby.
I never listened to Irish pundits or Irish fans because we're all biased.
Here, listen, at this stage...
It's the fact we're listening to a lot of international pundits and international fans are saying he's the best hooker in the world now, and that's where it's got credibility.
But you listen to me, Nigel.
course I do.
Like that is without a doubt probably one of the best hookers in the world. But not only that, he's probably one of the best wingers in the world as well.
He's very good.
Well, there you go. Yes, that's
Well,
it.
and
Okay.
we've had hookers that have had a good eye for the whitewash and scoring tries before in Irish rugby. But if you watch the amount of work that he goes through up and down the pitch, he's not a highlight reel player. He's someone that gets the basics right. His line-out throwing is exceptional. His scrum, and we talked about that earlier, is very, very strong. You know, two fundamentals as a hooker, but his work rate, the work off the ball, and when he gets the ball, I mean, he's got great feet and he's got electric pace and power like we have seen before. But as you say, I mean, he's a finisher. So, if he's not man of the tour, I don't know who is.
Yeah, and as you say that, like, Justin, like, the truth of it is, you know, good players really work the pitch really well when they're not off the ball, and their work rate is top class. And he just seems to have that drive, the energy to go and do all that hard work and then end up being in the right spot at the right time and end up finishing a try. And that's what makes him so good, because he can just read the game so well.
I agree.
He puts right what he didn't get right before, because I can recall a time he was not a particularly good line-out thrower, and he now is. And that was the only thing I had that I was iffy with him about. He's fixed that. He is the complete player as a hooker.
He is. There's a bit of a Keith Wood about him.
I think he's gone past that.
Yeah. With hair, yes. I tell you now, I'm just going to throw this out here because I was just reminded of something there during that last conversation. I'm not going to ask each individual because we're coming up to the hour mark and I need to just go on and talk about one, possibly two other things. David Corkery. We've had David on the show before. He said in a post on Facebook that this is possibly one of the, I'm paraphrasing, and David, if you're watching and I've misquoted it, my apologies, but he said something to the effect of it's one of the worst line tours that he has ever seen, and his reasoning was that any of the of the four nations, if their individual teams were to play Australia, they'd beat them, with maybe an exception with Wales at the moment. Anyone care to offer?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, because I'll tell you why. Would any of the four nations have pulled back an 18-point deficit on Saturday? I don't think so.
I think last week it disproved that. Yeah, disproved.
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Maybe Ireland might have pushed it close. I don't see any of the other three nations getting anywhere near it.
Okay. Hold on, Mike. Go on, Matt. Yep.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't agree with what he said, but it has been slightly underwhelming in terms of, like, we know what we're expecting from a Lions tour. We want a blockbuster, and we got it there on Saturday, which is great. And now it's great. But I like most international teams would struggle to come back from an 18-point deficit, because it's massive. And
absolutely.
And I think the way the four nations came together on that team, I think they had just the ability to go, right, well, look, we can do this. We know what we can do. And they had Andy Farrell fucking doing that. And probably, I know you said this earlier with the Owen Farrell thing, he was probably one of them voices in that changing room, because that's what he brings as a leader, as experience. He's a four-time tourist, so massive.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Thank you, gentlemen. Justin, would you agree with that? I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just thought I'd throw it out there just for.
No, I mean, I got a lot of respect for Corks, and he's a smart rugby brain. But no, I disagree. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I don't get particularly fanboyish about different tours or competitions, but I've been very excited about the Lions, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So on that level, no, I've been entertained, and I think, to Mike's point, you're not many sides are coming back from an 18-point deficit, and I've liked the way that we have, or the intent that we've had throughout the tour, to play some really exciting offloading, fast-paced rugby, with tough defence and a strong set piece as well. So, I've enjoyed it. So, no, I would disagree.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, gentlemen, for that last points made in that last point. Okay, Justin, before we go on to our predictions, just another thing I'm just interested so far, and it's been touched on just there recent, just a minute ago. But if I was to say to you, okay, tell me who your Lions player of the series is going to be. Justin, what would you say to me?
Dan Shane by a country mile.
Okay. Nigel?
Dan Shane.
Okay. Mike
100%. 100%.
Dan Shane. Okay. Matt, would you agree with everyone?
Yeah, you'd have to go Dan Shane. You'd have to.
He has been outstanding in every game he's played.
And he was also the first name on that team sheet every time.
Yeah. Okay. You wouldn't go Tyke Byrne, anyone? No?
I'd say Tyke Byrne is close.
Tyke Byrne
Tom
has
Curry-
exceptional two tests.
There's a lot of good players on this tour, and they've been consistent. But
Tom Curry, I like what Tom Curry's done.
Shane's just been that ceiling above. He's just been that level above.
He has, yeah.
Okay. Ellis Genge, anyone? No?
Ellis Genge has played very well.
He has.
Look,
Very well.
You could name fucking 40 players that have played really well on this tour, and you're looking at that exceptional player that's really, really performed at the high level and has done pretty much everything right, and you've only got to go with Dan Sheehan.
Okay.
What Dan Sheehan has done, he went into that, like Matt said, he went into the competition as the first name on the team sheet, and he has backed it up every game he's played. He's backed it up every game he's played. He has had no drop whatsoever in any form, and he's getting better every game.
Sorry, go on.
He still has a ceiling, by the way. He hasn't reached his ceiling at all yet. He has a high ceiling, that boy. He's a special player.
And on top of all of that, gentlemen, he looks like he's enjoying his rugby.
Oh, he loves it.
Which is almost, it's in the head as well when you're enjoying it. Okay, we're over. Sorry, go on, Mike. What?
He loves scoring tries as well.
He's enjoying it.
Oh, he does. He's a try-scoring machine. Okay, gentlemen, we were over the hour mark. I have to go and do stuff. Otherwise, we'd be here for another half an hour, I'd say. But anyway, win, lose, or draw, gentlemen. We have 4 games. We have 1 test match, and then we have 3 of the women's games. Just win, lose, or draw. Who's winning, who's losing, who's drawn. Matt Boland, as we have discussed tonight at length, the third and final test in this current 2025 Lions series, we have Australia are playing the Lions. Where is it? It's in the Accor Stadium in
Sydney.
Where is it? Sydney. Matt, who's winning? Who's losing? Who's drawn? It's what?
And it's sold out.
Sold out. Brilliant to see. Yes, absolutely.
Stadium. It's going to be a great game, but I'm going with the Lions.
Okay, give us a points difference.
I'm going to go 41-28.
Ooh, wow. Okay, controversial. Okay, now we've 3 women's games are on. I haven't. I said to Justin earlier, I haven't a breeze who's winning or losing these. Matt, England are playing Spain.
England. Right.
South Africa are playing New Zealand. I think Zakaya said New Zealand. The Black Ferns would win this easily.
New Zealand.
Yeah. Okay, and then the Irish ladies are playing Scotland.
Ireland.
Okay, fair enough. Mike Reedy, the third and final test, Australia versus the Lions. Who's winning that, and what is your points difference or score prediction?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot closer, I think, than Matt. Maybe I'm wrong here now, but I think it's going to be similar to the last weekend's game. I hope we win it. I expect the Lions will win it because Andy Farrell has said he stall out. So yeah, Lions victory by 5 points.
So a 1-score game with you. Okay, and the 3 women's games, England versus Spain, Mike.
Oh, England will be.
Okay, the South Africa are playing the Black Ferns, New Zealand.
I think New Zealand.
Okay, and the Irish are playing your hometown there at the moment, Scotland.
Hometown or no hometown, I'm Irish.
No, I know you are, but you're living in bloody Glasgow.
Ireland will win that game.
Right, okay.
No doubts about that.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Nigel, go on. Third test, Nigel. Australia versus the Lions in Sydney. Who's winning, who's losing, who's drawing? And
Lions,
what is your points?
Lions by 9 points, at least.
9 points?
I've got a funny feeling.
Could you not just give us an even number, just say 10 or something? Or
all right, then. I'm want to stay away from double figures.
Very good, very good. Okay, Nigel, the English women are playing the Spanish women. Who's winning that, sir?
England heavily.
Okay, South Africa versus New Zealand.
Ferns, that will be a tighter game.
All right. Okay, and Ireland, the Irish women are playing the Scottish women.
I'd go with Ireland on that.
All right, fair enough. Okay, and last voice on the show, Justin. Go on. We've spoken about it for the show. The third test, Australia entertaining the Lions in Sydney.
Lions by 2 scores.
Oh, okay. Confidence much, Justin. Okay, good man. England versus Spain in the women's rugby. Do you know? Are you like me? You haven't a clue, or do you know?
No. I follow it.
Good.
England
Okay.
by a country mile.
Yeah. Okay. The South Africa versus New Zealand, Justin.
New Zealand by a good bit.
Okay, and finally, the Irish women are playing the Scottish women. I think that's in Virgin Media Park, isn't it?
Down in Cork.
Yes,
yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Down Cork. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That'll be a good game. I mean, there's not a huge lot to separate, but I think Ireland will win by a couple of scores. The following weekend, so next weekend after this one,
story.
Canada. We're going to know exactly where we are going into the World Cup, and I think the coaching staff have done a great job, and we've got some talented ladies there. So I'm optimistic, but that'll be a really good temperature test.
As long as Aoife's fit.
As long as what? What was that, Mike?
As long as Aoife's fit.
Yes.
She's a monster. Her. She's just,
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, watching. That is all we have time for. My guests in the studio here. My thanks are to Matt Boland, Mike Reedy, the great Nigel Quigley, and of course our returning guests. He's always welcome. And don't forget, his podcast, The Business End, is out now. You can tune in and listen to that. It's Justin and your business partner, Justin. What's his name? I know you said it right.
Liam Mooney. We played together at London Irish many moons ago.
And Liam Mooney. Very interesting chats on there. And also Justin writes articles for ruckthis.ie, which are well worth a read, very informative and well written, folks. Folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. You'll be then notified when we're live. You can also get us later on Spotify when Matt uploads this particular video. But anyway, thank you all. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your opinions. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Good night. Thanks all.
Everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.